Hello and welcome to the Journeys with PDA Coffee Chat podcast, where we seek community connection and co-regulation while chatting about all things PDA. Hello and welcome to Journeys with PDA Coffee Chat podcast. I'm Heather.
And I'm Kerissa. And today we have two very special guests today. We always love having special guests with us, but it's especially exciting when they join us from across the pond. And so thank you for managing time differences and working with us to make this happen. So go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you so much for having us. We've been so looking forward to seeing you, and thank you for arranging around your time zone as well. My name's Caryn.
I'm Georgina.
And we love each other very much.
Yeah.
We're very, very good friends. And as life would have it, ended up meeting in a professional forum. Do you want to do your bio first?
Well, so I was so lucky. I met Caryn, who was Mrs. Price at that point, and I was teaching, and I still am teaching. And so I got to meet Caryn. Caryn has so kindly, I reached out to her with my work, so I was still studying as well as teaching. And I was so touched because I would ask Caryn, I knew was an expert in various fields, had her own consultancy, was doing phenomenal work that I found inspirational at my desk just as a sort of day-to-day teacher. And I reached out to Caryn, and we've been amazing, very close friends ever since. And it's every single day I feel so lucky to work with someone who I value the friendship, I value their expertise and their kindness. And Caryn picks me up every now and then. We do, both of us. We're very professional, but very close friends. So I'm very lucky. I've been studying at the Faculty of Education at the University of Cambridge, which I absolutely love. And yes, I can confirm it is like Hogwarts. I'm still blown away every time I go there. And I'm one of the oldest students there, I think. But I absolutely love it. I've been very lucky to study there and have now finished, but I'm still sort of in touch. I still am part of forums and part of different committees and things. But my studying has finished last year. And we together have written 2 books. We do consultancy work, and we're very lucky to go into schools. That's me, really. I'm a full-time teacher and a mum of 2 gorgeous boys.
I think I'm the lucky one out of the 2 of us, really. So Georgina says many wonderful things, but I feel like I've learned so much. And Georgina brings such a calm wiseness to our pairing. And I think in terms of, talking about relationships and how people work together with our children, with our colleagues, that kind of relationship is probably the most important. I, in a very small, quick nutshell, grew up in a neurodivergent family. I am not formally diagnosed, but think of myself as neurodivergent. I don't feel like I need a specific formal diagnosis. And I did. So I know what wonderful schools, wonderful family members, wonderful people in our lives can bring, but I also know what it's like when we feel judged and what it feels like if we are not in an environment that is encouraging and loving and supportive. So I very early on knew I was going to be working with children, and I did an honours teaching degree in South Africa, where I was born and where I'm from. And in those days, it was called a remedial teaching, and came overseas to learn as much as I could and travel as a young 23-year-old. And I am now 45 and haven't left. And in that time, I've retrained and retrained and retrained. But most recently, I have a master's degree in special and inclusive education and MSc in psychology. Felt like the fields overlap so much, and it's so important to understand education and inclusivity. But really, where I feel I was lacking was in the psychology and understanding that. And I've been very lucky to work with some phenomenal human beings across my path. And so really what we did was we sat down together and thought, what's missing? what do we not have? What are our wonderful teachers and staff and friends and families that we work with not have? What do we not know? And so the idea of writing books using, we know from neuroscience that we remember things better in story form, and we looked at understanding all of that and trying to put in lived experience with theory into story. And we thought we were very clever in doing a storybook that is written for children, but we know that adults will read to children and adults can use to learn themselves. So we're hoping that kind of translates.
Oh, it absolutely does. It does.
Good. We've achieved something.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I don't know. It sounds like you have achieved a lot.
Good.
So
No, we were very.
I would love to know how you got into PDA. How did you find it? Like,
Yeah.
tell us about that.
Yeah, my knowledge base was weak. It was not an area that I was an expert in at all. I touched a little bit on it. So my study had been in pure education. And obviously there you're looking at lots of different elements to education, the acquisition of learning, so on and so forth. And but luckily for me, the lovely Mrs. Price here, Caryn, is an expert in this field. And I was so lucky to learn so much. I then was I couldn't agree more. We felt that there was a real need for something. We were looking at, do we do training days? Do we do inset days? Do we just make a sort of, like a dull poster kind of thing? And hours and hours of work, we arrived at this concept, and it is now obviously in print and you can see it. But Caryn, you are
I think really
modest, but
those who are true experts are those who are PDA themselves. And I think really where we spend a lot of time was out of pure frustration, really, that in mainstream education, mainstream society, that there is a lack of knowledge. And I think certainly in the UK, PDA is not even in our diagnostic manuals. So when you have an perhaps autism diagnosis, or if you go through the system, there's not actually a specific diagnostic way of getting through. And so really it was born out of lived experience as well as professional frustration. And I think we had a lot of colleagues who were talking about things, we could see things in mainstream media, and it didn't fit the narrative that we felt that so many of our families and our children that we work with and young adults were talking about. And so the idea that PDA kids had a choice in their behavior, or PDA children and young people were difficult or naughty, we really struggled with that, because we could see that this was not a choice, that there was a lot of anxiety underlying it. And so what we did was we pulled our areas of expertise, but also knowing that this book, Olive's Day, is not us saying that this is a solution. This book is not a solution. These books were pulled together with deep respect and love for the families that we work with and their lived experiences. And so along the way, we had professors, we had mums, we had dads, we had children, we had teenagers who really live PDA every day, looking at our stories throughout and adding value to it. So I think that's how we learned the most about PDA. Coming back to your question.
Well, so you probably are very well aware of this, but we don't have any diagnostic criteria in our diagnostic manuals either.
Yeah.
There are guidelines, but there's nothing in our DSM-5 that says, hey, this is PDA and it's a thing. So we run into a lot of roadblocks over here as well.
And it's very
sorry, I think we overlapped there.
That's okay. It happens.
That's okay. Just thinking about, it's really hard to get information out to people. And so having a book like this is such a great tool and resource that we can share with others.
And you were going to mention something about the PDA Society.
Well,
Caryn.
what I was going to say, Heather, was really the PDA Society, where we are stuck, like in terms of the definitions, and we have to be really responsible with the information that we give out. We feel a huge responsibility in that area too. We use the PDA Society for the definition of what we use for PDA. We use it, what they have now are guidelines for parents to look at, for perhaps parents of your listeners who might only be at the beginning of their journey. The PDA Society is reputable, and it gives a lot of information.
We resource the PDA Society very, 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 very often. Yes. In fact, I actually came across the term PDA in 2014, what I believe was the precursor to the PDA Society. It was the entity it was before it became the PDA Society.
Yeah. I think
Lots
even
of,
just,
lots of
talking
good
about
information.
Just talking about PDA, the term pathological demand avoidance didn't quite sit with us right either. And so in our book, we talk about persistence, drive for autonomy, but we felt that the pathological side and the demand avoidance, it lends itself to choice. It doesn't actually explain the underlying anxiety so much of PDA. So, I mean, even the term doesn't quite sit with us very well. I don't know how it sits with the both of you, actually. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts.
Well, I think there's a lot of power in the first word, pathological.
Yeah.
Whether it is positive or negative, I've never come across anyone who finds the word pathological as a neutral word. And there are a lot of negative there are mostly negative connotations to the word pathological.
Especially when it's medicalized.
When it's medicalized.
It's very medicalized,
Yes. And I completely agree with that. I'm of the belief that whatever anybody wants to call it, they can call it whatever they want to. I think that if pervasive drive for autonomy is what it feels the best in the PDA, then that is just as valid as if they, nope, this is pathological. It's happening across, we cannot help it. It's happening across all environments. Again, we're putting it very much, we're pigeonholing it very much into medical terms.
Yeah.
Or, psychological terms, but it also may, somebody who is a PDA may feel that pathological describes them more, and it's more, how they identify. So it's like we say when we're supporting parents, we don't care what we call it. We don't care what we call it. Sometimes I work a lot in the schools. I don't work a lot in the school systems, but I support families who are trying to access services in our public schools.
Yeah.
And many times when I'm writing reports or letters for them, I can't use pathological demand avoidance or persistent. I have to use extreme demand. I have to use extreme demand avoidance in my writing so that it's more palatable to whoever's reading the reports.
Yeah.
That's very
so it's just it's all a matter of we have to write to our audience, right? And that's sometimes what I have to do. Right.
Yeah, completely.
I do think pathological can sound so negative because everyone just thinks about a pathological liar. That's everyone's like reference point for that word. But when I look at it and I think about PDA and the word pathological, to me, it really is demonstrating it's beyond like their choice or their control. This isn't about this is a preference that they like to, be in control or have autonomy. And so in that way, I think it holds some weight. And I also think it's really important to really understand that this demand avoidance is in all areas and all environments. And we obviously know that there can always be a lot of masking or fawning that might happen, but like it's in all the ways. It's all the time. And in that way, I feel like the word pathological is a good descriptor.
Yeah.
And I also think, you know, at this point, we're going to start to run into, there's many people who were diagnosed Asperger's, right? And then they decided to not use that word in the diagnostic manuals, but you have a lot of people who still use that term because that's what they learned first. And so I think you're going to find that with PDA as well, that there's going to be people who they learned pathological demand avoidance. That was the first term. And so they're just going to continue to use that. I do really like the having autonomy in there, because it's so important for people to understand that need for autonomy, especially when you start getting into like people's perception of they're controlling, bossy, naughty. Autonomy to me is like, that is a helpful term that does describe what they need. So, but for us, we'll call it anything or whatever, whatever.
And I love that, because it links so beautifully to autonomy, and you get to decide what you call your PDA. That is part of the autonomy, right?
I think also what's so important, looking back to what Heather said, which is at the end of the day, I think we'd all be in agreement that the most important thing here is the child. So we can call it anything. It's if we have to write for an audience to get what's best for our child, the child that's involved, then we will. If we need to write extreme or pathological or persistent, it's almost, we're all kind of over it, aren't we? We're all, we don't mind.
Amen.
We just need to get the best thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm coming from. So
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Well, diving into your book, Olive's Day, as we were talking before we actually started doing the recording, and you asked me how I ended up seeing this book and getting it. And I had just said that, I search for these kinds of resources so often that I think the algorithm on my social media just knows what to show me. It's PDA autism books, and also just stuff you would get dopamine from, like, did I order at 3:00 in the morning because it came across my Facebook feed, and it's just, I finally see it and it comes finally, and I'm like, what was I thinking at 3 a.m. that I have this? Did I need that? I didn't need that, but this is not the case in your book. And when you were saying that when you really took this very global approach and looked at and got information from the experts, it's very evident in your book. If it's not in the narrative, you're seeing very respectful examples in the illustrations as well.
Oh, good.
Well, that's given me.
And I know that many people are listening. Many people don't access our podcast on YouTube. We're much more of a people just auditory listening and not watching. So it would make no sense for me to pop up, pictures. But they're just very respectful. Like, I could go through the entire book and just pick out on every single page, not even looking at the words, just looking at the illustrations and everything that has been embedded in it. And it was so thoughtful. And coming from somebody who is a PDA parent, I just want to say thank you. Like,
Oh,
thank you, because not I, I'm struggling to find the words here. There was just a lot of love and care that was put into this, and I appreciate it. Like,
Heather, thank you
I
so
think
much.
one of my favorite. Let me go back and see if I can find it. For those of you who are just listening, I'm kind of flipping through the book here. It is when Olive is coming back home from school and she's walking in the door. And on the left-hand side, the illustration, it's Olive and she's kind of downtrodden. She's walking in her door, and there's question bubbles around here. And it's those bombardment questions that as parents, we just do because that's what's ingrained to us.
But
So
they
it's,
come with
do you have
kindness,
your
don't
homework?
they?
Yeah. What do you want for supper? How was your day? You know, you can just see the exhaustion in her face. But then on the bottom of the same page, you can see the accommodations that her family has put into place where she doesn't have to choose what to have for dinner. I mean, well, not verbally. She doesn't have to answer because there are picture choices on the refrigerator where she can just go and she can point to what she wants. And it's simple things like that. These are, we don't need expensive, clunky accommodations for our kids. It's just as simple as remembering questions are demands. They are heavy. They take a lot of spoons to answer. And if we can just point to a picture and everybody's happy,
Yes.
then
and
that's
also,
gold.
Heather,
That's absolute gold.
this is exactly what we try to do. It's try to be we're looking at this at the same picture, but just recognizing those everyday struggles, and so that parents and teachers can just start to navigate through them with compassion.
Yes.
Now, again, we're not saying we have all the answers. What we're saying is this is what has worked for some families. We've got 4 choices for your listeners of dinner on the fridge. You might only have 2. You could have 10. But what we're talking about is just taking the demand off a heavy day. And we try to weave through it a day in the life of, so that teachers and parents could overlap and see what that might look like.
I was just about to bring that part up. I brought up the more towards the end of your book where Olive is coming home because we have a lot of families that we support, and that is their witching hour.
Yeah.
That's their witching hour. But what you have in place for teachers in the book as well, or educators or administrators, is just as beautiful. It's just as beautiful.
And really grateful you said beautiful, because that makes my heart just so full of joy. But also that it is not rocket science. We don't need PhDs. We don't need 1,000 professors. You don't need to spend £1 million on all sorts of accommodations. You can come to school 15 minutes before everyone comes in, and regulate and get used to your environment and go out. It's about printing "I need a break" and putting it on a desk. It's about putting your classroom together in a way that if you have your topics. So for example, in the book, we use that they're learning about different countries, and Olive finds it way too overstimulating. She's got a teacher in there with all sorts of noise going on, but the classroom is set up so that the teacher doesn't have to say, you have to do the work here. You can go anywhere in the classroom. We've got posters of the world map. We've got books on different things. We've got all sorts going on. And so when Olive does come back and does her work, she had already chosen a book about Japan, and she read all about Japan, and then she knew where it was on the map. It's about being clever without putting more. And we have to say, we work with some of the most phenomenal teachers in the world. They are under so much stress. They are underpaid. It is just a global, probably a global issue. But our teachers need to be empowered too. And that was our hope with
Yes.
some of the strategies we put in place too, not just for the families, not just for the children, not just for the parents, but also for our wonderful educators.
And even let's talk about, I think this book flows so beautifully because she also at school is being supported by her friends.
Yeah.
Yes,
in
which
the
we thought
book.
was very important,
Yep.
really, as well, because when we're reading this book as an educator, you're reading it to a small group of children in front of you, you're in your class, and it is speaking to them as well. So they're sitting there thinking, how can I help my friend? What's happening here? What can I do? So we've just got that they change a little game on this one page, and the friends wanted to play. They felt and Olive is feeling overwhelmed, and then her friends who knew and loved her saw that she felt uncertain. So we tried to make sure that the language it was coming with kindness, as I just mentioned before. Nobody here, when you come home from school, I mean, I'm a mum. I can remember, what did you do today? Who did you play with? Oh, have you got your results back? What do you want for supper? Hey, you'll never guess what happened. Oh, your parcel's arrived. Do you want to change? Should we go to the park? And it's just because I love them and I'm excited and I kind of want a window on their world. I want to know what happened today. I desperately want to know.
I've missed them.
I've missed them. I love you, and I'm going to bombard you with these questions.
Yeah.
And it comes from a place of love, but actually, this isn't working. This isn't working. I need to reframe things. So, going back to what you said about the children, it's helping the children, your peers on peers, teachers, and families.
And it's modeling. We don't expect our kids to know everything, and adults certainly don't. No. So how do we model? How do we do it in a loving, supportive way?
Yes. So thank you for your lovely positive words.
Oh yeah, and I'm looking at I'm looking for that. No, I'm on the page where you're talking about looking for the countries, or they were doing the countries, and I love this. It's written, the colors and names of the countries glared at me from the pages. And I felt the sudden rush inside of me and a big no coming. This was a huge demand for me. So it's not just, you've written about how it feels internally to be a PDAer in that setting, in that circumstance.
I think it was really important for us to show the complexities of PDA. So, in the beginning of the book, it's just the clock ticking that is a demand. It doesn't have to be an adult telling you what to do. In this, it's the worksheet that is the demand. And I think that's what we found in mainstream settings, that people had this prescriptive idea of it was a no, I won't do it, or this extreme demand avoidance in a verbal or physical kind of manner. But actually, we've got to look a little bit clearer at it. What is the demand? What is the avoidance? And then also loved and liked things that they love to do. That wasn't clear when we started our workout with lots of the educators we worked with. She loves acorns. Her mum says, let's go get some more acorns. She couldn't go. And it's the same. These are the words glaring at her. It's the clock ticking. Those are what we try to put in the nuances more of.
I think leading on,
we're always trying to get people to really pause and to think about what is the PDAer's experience, and not, there's so much of like the perception that is external. So what is the mom's experience? What is the teacher's experience? And not what is that individual's experience. And that's what we need to be able to share. And that's what you guys are bringing, so that there can be empathy and patience, and take the perspective of the individual. And isn't that what all people would really want, is like, let me tell you how I feel, and then support me that way, instead of that outside perspective of they're just yelling no, and they're just refusing to do anything. And as the parent, teacher, whoever, just saying, well, you have to. So to bring that really, really personalized experience, I think is so helpful to a message to get out to others. And I'm thankful for that.
So lovely to hear.
Yes.
Georgina's got a great theory, and I've watched her do this in her lessons, and it works so beautifully. And it is, you brought up, Kerissa, the word support, and why don't you tell them about how you tell the children we've got to support each other, and that we will all need support at some day, at some point.
I think I had an inspirational professor who we used to have lots of role play. And then I tried this long time ago, and it's always, I felt it. I'm so glad that you love it as well, Caryn, in the classroom. But so I would say, so for instance, if we were here, I would say we're now all you're going to be sitting here, you're listening, we're going to listen to this lovely story. But boys and girls, we now need to support Heather, because Heather needs to just do her colouring. So that's okay. Heather, you okay? You're going to do your colouring. And we're all going to support Heather, because the problem you often hit in the classroom and when we've supported educators is they're like, yeah, but how is it okay for me to allow Georgina to lie on the floor underneath the table, and Caryn, she's having a little colouring in over there, and Heather, it seems to be okay for Heather to sit over there on her own, but my expectation is I want everyone else to sit here and do this lesson. And so this is how I navigated around that. I thought it was really important that we use that language, that we say, boys and girls, you're looking at me, and we are going to learn now about how we're going to add 3 and 6 together. However, we are going to support Caryn, because Caryn is just going to play with some cubes. She's going to add 6 and 3, but that's what we're going to do. And they very much, I mean, in a naughty way, I'm the adult in the room, and I am proposing this to you. So there's no real option for you. No child is going to put up their hand and go, no, I'm not going to. And I've always built these lovely classrooms. I feel as they're going into adulthood, this is the language they need. We need to be able to say, I'm at uni, I'm going to support my friend.
And self-advocate. Yeah. That's huge.
Yes.
But also, what I got that you taught me so well, and is that we all need support. So at some time, a point in my life, my hamster will die, or you will come in late and dysregulated and flustered. What we're doing is creating this beautiful culture of everybody needs support. And let's not be ashamed of it. We're not pointing out to Caryn that Caryn needs to do this. We're just saying, you know what? We all need support.
We do. And we are going to be truly inclusive. Yeah. We are a wonderful, diverse community, whether it's that university cohort, or whether we're at work, or whether we're at home or in the classroom. It will always be. And how wonderful to have a diverse, lovely, wonderful community, which we do therefore have to support. Yeah. So that's that. I don't know. Is that helpful at all?
I don't think children get enough credit for how smart they are.
Oh, preach.
Yeah.
Right. And if we are having these conversations, I think sometimes adults feel like we can't have hard conversations with kids. And we have to have it in a way that we know is, on their level, in their language. But, I'm a former teacher as well. And I'm actually a former special education teacher. And when I was going through how to be a teacher in school, right? It was just spoon feeding. This is the information we're giving you. Let's see how you can produce on this, right? And those were the only markers that we were looking for. Yeah. Sadly, I know better now, but we just don't give children the credit for how intelligent they are. And if we start at that age, it just gives them the tools for when they get older. And this doesn't even mean in the PDA world. It's just, this is life. This is just about it's about a shared humanity.
Yeah, completely. And I think, you know what? PDA children are children first and foremost and are human beings. And so when we attach everything else to it, we've got to remember that everybody else in that classroom, everybody else on that bus, everybody else in their church, everybody else in their community, whatever it is, that's what we essentially are. And if we have those conversations early on, it becomes wired into who we are, opposed to later going, oh, why? Or don't look at the person. Don't look at the person in a wheelchair. Don't ask questions. Let's open conversation.
Right. Let's just normalize it all.
And having the idea that it's okay for someone to just need something a little bit different.
Yes.
You know, and we hear all of the time, well, if we don't make our PDAers do this a certain way, well, they'll never learn how to do it. And what about the real world? And then we go, okay, well, you're an adult and you're getting to choose when you brush your teeth, how you brush your teeth, what time you go to bed. Like that is actually the real world. So what if we said, yeah, all people of all ages need things differently. And that's okay. It's okay for people to need different things. And a great example is Heather and I, and the way that we work together and how we support each other in, you know, our work partnership. And so we're allowed to, there's some things that I can't do, so Heather can. And there's things that Heather can't do, so I can do it. And it's that idea of having that flexibility and being able to make choices and being able to say, I need to have this just a little bit different. And it's so hard that when you have, you know, older PDAers, when you find it and they're 10, 14, 15, and they've never got to experience saying, this is what I need, and this is how I want to do it. And then you're trying to retrain them in like, oh, you like, we're going to give you autonomy now. And so then it happens all the time. Like you try to start giving autonomy and the kid's like, what is going on? Like, what are you doing to me? And so like being able to start early on in that, it's okay if you want or need something to be a little bit different. And it's okay for the people around you to do things a little bit differently. And that to just be, the way that we do life.
Yeah. I think when I've been into other schools, some educators will say things like, well, okay, but if you do that, if you say, let's support Karen's going to be colouring in on the side here, what happens, Georgina, when everyone starts wanting to colour in? And I've always spoken to educators in other settings and said, actually, that just doesn't really happen. Children, I'm just coming back to that, was that children are fundamentally kind and inclusive. And I've never had a situation where that has ever happened. Normally, all the boys and girls sort of look up and they smile and they think, how lovely that Caryn is now feeling regulated, feeling calmer, feeling included, is just sitting there slightly separately, just doing her colouring in. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that, but I've experienced that a few times when people seem to panic. Oh, if we do this for one, it's all going to go wrong. Everything's going to go wrong. So perhaps it's better if we just sit them all in rows and tell everyone they've all got to be the same and they're all going to be silent and they're all going to do what I told them, because then it'll all be fair. It's not fair otherwise. And
right, you know, and I've always said, and I picked this up somewhere, this is certainly not an Heatherism by any means, but fair is not always equal. And we have to remember that equality is not the same thing as equity. You know, like what we want is equity, where everybody is being supported in the way that they need to be supported.
They learn in the best way.
And actually, Heather, it's not
Right.
that hard. It's not that hard.
No, it's not. It's not. But I'm going to tell you.
What we're trying to say. If you're a little bit creative, if you open your eyes a little bit more, it's not that hard. And we will all work well. If you are going to hit that brick wall with a PDA or anybody, or if I've had a bad morning, no one will be learning in your classroom. No one will be conforming because everyone will be disruptive. So the more we kind of include and accommodate everybody, the more learning and joyful learning will happen.
I could not agree more.
I think that, Kerissa, to your point about... Oh, sorry. Do you want to go first, Heather?
No, please.
Nope. I was thinking one of the things that we really advocate with parents and families, or like back to your point, Kerissa, about letting them get their own way. Our response to that always is just meet in the moment. All day, every day is not one massive meltdown, but you will not learn whatever you're trying to teach in a moment of huge anxiety, huge avoidance, huge upset. We meet in the moment. The lessons will be taught otherwise. Learning how to compromise, having a great working partnership, that takes time. You only do it really well when you've maybe made a few mistakes, where you've sat and had a conversation. We can't do it if we're not meeting in the moment.
Yes. Yeah.
I agree more.
And I also think about a big thing that we hear parents panicking is, well, if I let one child, if one child gets to make choices, well, what about my other kids? And it's funny, I have 2 children, and I find, oh, wow, teaching autonomy to both is actually incredible. And the idea of like, let's support everyone in the family, and it's okay if everyone is doing different. And really it's just doing kind of that PDA lifestyle for everyone. And like there's different supports and different needs, but what if you really just were like, we'll support everybody's needs, whatever they are, and however different they are. And like, if
and we're not saying it's easy, right? It's because sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes we can't. But when I'm sorry, I feel like I'm talking for you, Kerissa. But I got very excited in my brain when you said that.
Yes, but that's because what we do.
We do that, right? But when we show that we are accommodating somebody in our family who's having a very difficult time, the person who is not having it, they can lend grace because at some point they're going to need help. Sorry, Kerissa. I didn't mean to Heather explain what you were trying to say by any means.
That's it. Like, that's exactly it though, is there's this fear of like, well, we can't give any freedom to just one person, especially a child, because then everybody's going to want freedom and it will be massive chaos. And you know, in my home, when I was like, okay, what if we started to kind of give autonomy to both kids? And so then both kids kind of get to learn how to advocate for themselves. They know how to treat each other. Because they know what they want in that situation. And ultimately, I feel like if I'm teaching my children or allowing autonomy to both, I'm also having the opportunity to teach them how to be responsible, functioning adults, because they got to learn like, okay, this doesn't work. And they get to come back to me and I can say, okay, what what maybe could you have done different? What can you take away from this? And so they actually get to explore autonomy in a really safe, structured way. And so why would I give that to one child and not the other is my thought. Like,
no, I couldn't agree more.
It works for both. And
I think with the if we just go back to the page where little Olive comes in and we have got this overwhelm of questions, and so the parents have just pictures on the fridge. There's nothing wrong with everyone using that system.
Yeah, and taking turns.
It doesn't matter, you know, your sibling may I don't know, love football, play the harp, and be dyslexic. We will all have different profiles, complex and not complex. But there is nothing, we've lost nothing if the sibling, another child, or your husband comes in and points at fish fingers. It's just a no-risk strategy. And that's what we did try to do in this book, that it's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with, you've got your pictures on the fridge, and you just quietly choose. Super supportive for Olive and absolutely accessible by the entire family. At no, because I'm trying to link to Kerissa to what you said. I totally understand that people tend to think, and educators would say to me, you know, oh, it's all just going to be a free for all. Everyone's just going to do what they like, sort of thing. And that's not the case, as we know. Just being kind, inclusive, compassionate.
I think though also, you know, linking back to what we've all been saying, and it is as easy as we think it is, but we also, I think it would be remiss of us to not say that it is very difficult on other days. And what about safety? You cannot drive into a road and make a mistake there. And so there are times where we have to, as the adult, also scaffold and make those choices for our children.
Oh,
you
yes.
at some point have to brush your teeth, because otherwise you will have no teeth. And so picking and choosing. And I think that's also what I would hate for any of your wonderful listeners or anybody reading our books thinking that we're going, oh, it's so easy to do every single day, 24/7. It's not. We hear you.
Yeah.
There are times where I'm sure both of you have just wept yourselves to sleep. I know, you know, there were times you don't know what you're doing anymore. I think that's part of being a mother.
Yes.
So there's that balance and there's that dance. And I think it's about celebrating the small victories as much as the big victories, but also recognizing that some days are just, you know,
they're just, and that's when we have to remember to love ourselves. And, you know, if we're eating, if they're on the screen all day because we're all having a rough time and we're going to have takeout for dinner, you know, it's going to be delivered to us because we just can't, you know, or we're going to eat cereal or whatever it is, you know, it's okay to just give ourselves grace too.
Yeah.
Caryn leads a wonderful workshop, which I absolutely love. And the takeaway from me was Caryn sort of opens it, and it's the sort of strapline of, it's absolutely fine to have fish fingers on Christmas Day.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, these societal norms, these societal expectations. But actually, you know what? We're going to have fish fingers. And yes, it's not Christmas lunch, but it is fine. And I think I love that in your workshop. So
yeah, okay. I'm excited about that. It's a new Christmas one that I'm doing with pizza, actually. And I'm so excited. I'm hoping that nobody who's going to be there will hear this little spoiler. But I've actually got ceramic pizza Christmas decorations as gifts at the end. And I thought it would just be so special for parents to walk out and on dreadful moments go, you know what, we're having pizza. And on wonderful moments, look at their Christmas tree and think, we've taken away all these societal norms and pressures of having the perfect Christmas day, probably for you guys Thanksgiving too. But we've managed to do it. So I'm really excited about it, actually. Yeah.
Good.
What day are you having this workshop?
I'm doing it at different places.
Oh, different places.
In and around, so different schools, but maybe we should do an online one. Actually, I don't know how we get everybody a ceramic pizza decoration, but
we can post them.
Yeah,
they could print it out, or it could be a sticker.
that.
But
we'll come over and see you with our ceramic pizza.
We'll come and have coffee.
Yes.
Real coffee.
Absolutely.
Real coffee.
I do have tea. My husband's a tea drinker, and he drinks coffee, but we have tea. We do keep tea on hand because he loves tea.
He loves it.
We'll drink either.
Well,
We'll be there.
I do really love that idea, and of okay, so yeah, let's just go ahead, and you guys are having fish fingers, but we're having chicken nuggets. And so like the idea of that is okay, and going back into sometimes as parents there are health and safety things that must be enforced or followed through. We still have to keep our kids safe. But for us, I would rather them eat chicken nuggets on Thanksgiving than get into a situation where they're maybe very dysregulated and you have to worry about enforcing some sort of safety, situation. I grew up in Montana, and so Thanksgiving is generally very cold and lots of snow. And so I would rather bring chicken nuggets to Thanksgiving dinner for my kids than have to worry about fighting over, are they going to wear boots and a coat? So it's like, let's not fight about food. So that, yes, I can make sure that you have a coat, because it is very cold, and that is a very critical safety measure, that you're going to have a coat. So let's just bring chicken nuggets. I have done that like lots of times. I've brought chicken nuggets to holiday family get-togethers, and
it's all poultry, right? If we're having a turkey, it's all poultry.
And we
should make that a sticker. Let's do a sticker of that. It's all poultry.
And for us, like in our family, one of the things that we've done, because we have let go of so many of the like traditional expectations, and so for Christmas dinner we always have like tacos and Mexican food, and so that's now become our tradition, but that's because we all would really rather eat tacos, and
isn't it freeing taking those massive expectations off? And I think that's what we pull into the book, where we talk about big feelings, no words, and shaken like a fizzy bottle. You literally are. If you cannot accommodate or pick your battles, no one's going to win here. That bottle will pop up. If you think about a Coke bottle being shaken completely, it will really blow. And that none of these are a choice, right? They challenge us. This is anxiety based, bringing it all in.
So,
I don't want to change. I don't want to change directions abruptly.
I was going to change directions. So, Heather,
rock, paper,
you and
scissors.
I.
Who's gonna change directions first? We can do rock, paper, scissors. Okay. My change of direction, it has to do with another element of the book, and that is the font that you chose to use in your book. And I know I've seen different descriptors for this font. But from my understanding, do you have what is the name of the font? Like dyslexia font or?
Yes, it is from. So there are there are a number of fonts that have been designed and are research-based for dyslexic readers. This is all still early days. And this one that we've chosen, I'm pretty sure, is the one that Oslo University have, and it's free. So there are quite a few that you can buy, but this one, Oslo University had done a lot of research, and they have it as an absolute free resource. So I felt quite strongly about that. That was a kind and good and honest research-based thing to do. Actually, it was the lovely Caryn here, who knows my son. I have 2 dyslexic boys. I know they won't mind me mentioning that. And Caryn so kindly said, we have to do this. This has to be totally
all about being inclusive.
Yes. And then my youngest son was so excited and ordered the book. And then he roared with laughter and he said, Mum, no one's ever going to complain that a book's easier to read. And I just laughed, and he said, this is so kind of you. He was so touched that it was here. And he just said, if you don't have dyslexia, you're never going to complain. You're just going to read the book like I do read the book. I don't have dyslexia. And he just felt very included and touched. And we hope that any children with dyslexia feel the same.
As it should be.
Yeah.
As it should be.
Totally inclusive. That was where we were going.
I'll tell you, the very first time I read in this font, not necessarily a book, my brain just felt so good.
Oh, really?
It's like, oh yeah, I'm not diagnosed dyslexic. I'm diagnosed ADHD. I'm peer-reviewed autistic. It just makes so much sense, right? But I don't have to try as hard when I read in this font.
It's really interesting.
2 ADHD adults. I wonder, there could be a whole PhD here.
There could be.
2 male ADHD adults said that when they were reading it, they found it hard to adjust to in the beginning.
Yes.
But then it came around to it. I'm not dyslexic, and I found it okay.
Yes.
But yeah, it was important for us to be as inclusive as we could be within the mainstream system. And that meant that
I think certainly that it's in the public domain, that it's a font that we can all use.
And for people who maybe don't quite get when I say it's easier to read, what I'm saying is it doesn't take as much cognitive energy for me to process from what goes in my eyes and how my brain processes the information that I'm reading. That's what I'm saying when I say it's easier to read. It just doesn't take as many spoons to do it.
Cognitive load is not so much.
And for your listeners,
thank you. Cognitive load. Look at you using all those fancy words.
Sorry.
No.
And for your listeners, the dyslexic font really just has a heavy bottom.
Right, it's a weighted font, right? It's just it's got
this heavy bottom.
Heavy bottoms.
So I actually am diagnosed dyslexic.
Okay.
And
Fingers crossed. We've got a proper dyslexic review here.
Well, okay. So I did not get to have your book in my hands. Actually, I couldn't even get it on Kindle. I couldn't get it ordered. It was unavailable for me. Because I wanted to get it before we chatted with you guys, and so I actually wasn't able to. But I am familiar with the dyslexic font, and I feel like the first time I ever saw it, it's like that PDA who finally gets autonomy, and then they're like, I don't know what to do. and so like that first time I was like, oh my gosh, like my eyes and brain, like we don't know how to read word for word. And here we are now being set up in a way that now you could read each letter and read each word. And
there was more of a flow for you?
Yes, but it definitely took some adjusting that very first time. But just like the idea of, it goes back to, what if we just normalized supporting people.
Yeah.
And so
Definitely.
what if we just had more things in dyslexic font? Like, how great would it be to get like whatever handbook it is, like your student handbook or your insurance
your washing
handbook,
machine handbook.
washing machine handbook, and it's put into a like open dyslexic font. And like you said, if you're not dyslexic, it doesn't matter. You can still read it.
It just looks like a thicker, it looks like a bold. Just look at, if you are listening to this and you don't have any idea what we are talking about, just Google it. Just use the Google it.
Yes.
And you'll see what we are talking about.
Because I do know that there is, I want to say here is like open dyslexic font. And so it is available like in most like programs if you're going to type or whatever, but that just goes right back into, let's just normalize supporting all people. So could we just have some dyslexic font and like help some of us out? Like, how about when you put together furniture and you have those like manuals that barely have any steps? Like, wouldn't it be great if those could be
fantastic accommodation for putting together
and
furniture.
Also, again, going back to our theory, like this is not that hard. It didn't cost us anything. Let's just be a little bit more inclusive. Yeah. We're so pleased that you noted that, and that was a point for you.
Chris, I shall look into the book.
Yeah, we'll look into the book for you, because that should not be happening. No. We know that it is selling out quite quickly, but
it shouldn't be a problem. So
maybe it was sold out. I can't remember for sure, but I just knew I had looked it up and I was like, it just wasn't available. So, but we are still going to make sure that we link your book onto our website so that people will be able to find that and search it out. Because
we'll link it to the description in this podcast as well.
Thank you. And thank you so much for gifting it. I know that you gifted it to a bunch of people. So that was really, that was the loveliest.
And that was before we had even,
I know, we chatted.
We're approached by you guys to chat with you. And that's really how much, we believed in the book and trying to get it out. We also hear parents talk about it's very hard to explain PDA to their child or to siblings or other children. And so we are always very excited if there's something that is more geared towards sharing information with, with kids, because we do think they should be informed, but it goes back to like being able to do it in a way that they can receive. Well, it seems as if we've had some technical difficulty here with our recording, but we did have an absolutely wonderful conversation about a couple great books with Georgina and Caryn, and so grateful to have them with us, and bummed out that we got cut off a little short, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
That's right. And if we will put information about both of their books in the podcast, in the episode description. And if you would like to know more about pathological demand avoidance, you can find out information at journeyswithpda.com. You can email us at journeyswithpda@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, and we are also on Instagram.
So thanks for joining us today, and we'll chat again soon.
Sounds wonderful. Bye, everybody.
Bye.